Go ahead,
Good
Tony.
morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome to Coffee with the Coach. And today we have two coaches, no waiting. We have Coach Milou with us, and we have a very special person to me, Coach Rosen, Coach Dennis Rosen, who has been my mentor and my high school wrestling coach is where we first met and helped shape the person that I am today. Good morning, Denny.
Good morning, John.
How's everybody today?
We are doing, at least I'm doing fabulous. Dennis, how are you today?
I'm feeling extremely proud right now.
Oh, why is this?
Because I'm looking at you and I see a little face of someone that I knew when he was a little kid, and now he's a man, and I'm just proud of you.
Thank you. Well, Denny met me when I was 87 pounds, 4'11", a high school freshman, and he had me wrestling varsity 98 pounds the very first year because nobody else was there.
Tony, just so you know that I'm very proud of you as well.
Well, you know, Coach Rosen has many accolades. Excuse me. He has been an educator for over 30 years, a high school counselor, an athletic director. Plus, he's over 25 years been a executive director of a summer boys camp in Eagle River, Wisconsin. And it's called Camp Ojibwa. And as I learned, Denny just wrote a new book, which is Confuse and Conquer, which is a very interesting title. Denny, tell us, how did you come up with that title?
I had a different title originally, but as I was continuing to write the book, I realized one characteristic throughout my being was not really wanting other people to figure me out. If I was a coach, I didn't want to be figured out. I didn't want to have to be played or have kids walk in my office when I was a dean of students. They always knew something was going to happen. You said I was 25 years at camp. I was 60 years at camp. I worked there for 35 years, for 25 years, and then I became the director for 35 years. The last thing I want is for when a kid walks in my office to figure out what's going to happen, except they're going to know something happens. It's not a mind game, but it's, I want to see how much grit people can have in terms of you come in and you ask for something and I say no, and your choices are to leave the room with your head between your tail, or you go, what do you mean no? I say, well, no, two letters, no. You want me to say yes? Figure it out. You know, to challenge you, to let you know that life's not easy. And one of the things I'm most proud of you, Tone, is your sense of grit. You just never gave up. And that's why I feel so proud of being here with you today. There isn't much that I wouldn't do for you, as you know.
I know. It's been a very special relationship. And as I was sharing off mic a little earlier, I didn't realize, if there's one regret I had in life, it's that I didn't go to camp with you. And I didn't realize until reading your book that we're similar people. We're so much different, but we're similar people.
Yeah, but I'm taller than you.
Not by much, and you're shrinking.
No, not anymore.
But I always went to Eagle River, where your camp was, as a child, and on family vacations, and I connected with nature, and I guess it's, you know, you asked me what is my life right now, where am I? I'm becoming more present. I'm learning. I'm becoming more enlightened, and I'm learning to think less. And I think that's what nature does for you, is when you get out in camp, you don't think as much. They say it clears your mind, but it's you're not busy in your mind, and you can connect with your inner being. And that must have been a beautiful thing for you in camp each year to get the kids away from the distractions of their daily life. Share a little bit of that with us.
You're pretty
I mean,
close.
you call it a sense of community. I feel like it's a sense of common connection.
What I call it was that was the first sense of community I ever had because of my background, coming from a divorced home. I had was a real good athlete in high school. My dad never saw me play a game. I was captain of the football team.
He never saw you play.
Not one game. And but there was still learning that took place. You know, I felt my dad taught me how I really don't want to be as a father. I like to say when you come up to camp, when you drive underneath the sign, the rest of the world stays out. And that's because camp is its own world. It's its own joy. And it was the first time I've ever felt a sense of community. My first year in 1959, I was a pre-med student at the University of Illinois, and there was a notice on our fraternity bulletin board about someone interested in a job. And I went to camp, and I was in the youngest cabin, and there was 10 or 12 kids that were 7, 8, 9 years old, and they were at camp for 8 weeks. And a community relies on all members of the community in order to be successful. I didn't have a deprived childhood. I just had a childhood that was based upon my own grit. You know, my just figuring out this is the way that it is, and I'm going to move forward. And it was tough when I started high school. I was living with my aunt in a small little back room, like a closet, because my parents got divorced and we couldn't afford it. I was blackballed out of all the social activities. There were social clubs then. Either people didn't know me or did know me, but no one knew me well enough. And so it was, you know, what are my choices? My choices are keep moving forward, keep getting up, don't go backwards, keep moving forward. If you can't run, walk. If if you can't walk, crawl, but keep moving forward. And so that I saw you as being somewhat of an untamed puppy when you first started. And there was just something about who you were that made me feel that whatever route we take, it's going to be worthwhile.
Well, you never gave up on me.
No.
And you know, I think that
I still haven't given up on you.
I think all of those years in camp, because when I met you, I was probably 1972, 70. Yeah, because I graduated in 75, 74, 75. No, I graduated in 72. So it must have been 68 when I met you. So you'd been in camp for at least 10 years.
I started camp in 1969.
59, right?
59. Yeah.
So do you think that made you able to connect quickly with that inner being in the child, that you could understand them better?
No, I just think it gave me a sense of understanding and an involvement in something I never saw before. I never felt before. My parents were divorced. My dad's family lived on the south side of Chicago. I lived on the west side. I never felt much community with them. And I never even realized it until I started writing the book. That was one of the epiphanies of writing the book. It was like, I know that today's subject is renewal, but the whole book was renewal for me. You know, looking back, thinking, wondering. The purpose of the book is to leave a legacy to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, whom I'll never see. My oldest grandson just turned 20. I wanted them to know who their grandpa was, how I got there, and why I chose the path that I'm on. Like in 1969, I was nicknamed Mad Dog by one of my teams, and it just always stuck. But it's hard to believe, but it's a term of affection. My youngest grandson calls himself Mad Puppy.
I love that. I love that. Well, there's no doubt, being in high school with you, and it's a very turbulent time in most kids' lives as they're changing from a young into a young adult. Those who knew you loved you, and those who didn't know you thought you were the biggest jerk to them because it was that tough love that you gave, that you
That was all by
wanted,
design.
you wanted people to figure it out for themselves.
I felt that the most important thing I could teach you is how not to quit. And so, did you read the story about David, the
Of
handicapped
course I
boy?
did.
Is
Of
that an
course I did.
unbelievable story?
Yeah.
First time he ever got out of a wheelchair, first sit up he ever did, first pull up he ever did. Hands are bleeding. The kids are yelling at me. Every day we were wed, walked every day. I would get on him. It's like, oh, are you tired, Davey? But yet, and the kids would go,
I know
come
that
on, Dave."
feeling.
What? Yeah, I know.
I know that face.
But he got recognition from his peers, and it was just, I had like a master plan for him, but I didn't necessarily share it. So you asked me earlier about how I get the title of the book, because I didn't want people to know what I was thinking. I wanted, and another reason I didn't want them to know what I was thinking, because I might change the way I think. Because I've learned that a wise man learns. He has knowledge.
Well, he's always learning. Yeah.
Yeah. But a wise man will use what he learns and not be stubborn to say, So I developed a bunch of mantras, and each chapter of the book is a mantra. Like, it's more important to try and do the right thing than to try and be right.
I think that's a big,
little
big
stuff like
statement
that.
right there. Mhm.
Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Something else that you should be aware of is that I'm a big believer in giving everyone an opportunity to be successful, but after that, everyone's not treated equally.
Yeah, share that a little bit. Why do you feel it's that everybody shouldn't be treated equally?
I think everyone should be given equal opportunities, but then you make decisions. So
And those that make the
if
effort.
you're a counselor at camp and it's obvious that you're there for your own well-being instead of the kids, why would I treat you the same as someone that's sacrificing every minute of every day? But my goal as a leader is to get them to understand why I feel that way, not just say no. But to relate to them what I'm seeing and why I'm seeing it. And I'd love to be wrong. So, you have some choices to make. But in the meantime, in life, the more you give, the more you get. The greatest gift is the gift of giving, Tone, because it'll always come back to you. So I feel that. Let me finish while I'm still able to talk. Did I forget what I wanted to say? Go ahead.
No, you were talking about giving the biggest gift of giving is giving to others.
Absolutely. Yeah, but not to give it. To me, it was like, how could I get to them? How could I get to them? Like, I had someone come over to the house, him. He wrestled. I haven't seen him in 42 years. 42 years. And he said, Coach, I want to tell you something. You were one of the biggest influences in my life. I said, I should have been. You were such a pain in the ass. I spent so much time with you. So can I say that on television?
Sure. Yes, you can.
So you don't give up on those. You just don't, you make them earn it. You don't give it to them. And once it's earned, it's like a gift. And then it transposes to the next person. It's fantastic, Tom.
So how many kids did you have in camp each summer?
Well, when I took over the ownership, we had 105 kids, but they were all there for 8 weeks. When I retired, we had over 300 kids. Some were 8 weeks and some were 4 weeks. Brought us to the top of the mountain, baby. So what I learned is getting to the top of the mountain, when I'm using it metaphorically, is your hands get all bloody from climbing up those rocks. But once I got to the top of the mountain, my feet started hurting from kicking everybody off.
So with 300 kids, How do you
Well, they all
give
weren't there at
them
the same time.
time?
Some were 4-week campers, some were 8-week campers. The most we ever had at camp present at one time was 275.
It's still a lot of names to remember and a lot of
I'm
personal
picking up,
time to commit.
The names weren't as important because I thought they were all named Haynes. Because I'd look and see what they were wearing, and I go, Haynes, how you doing today? So it's the feeling that you give to them. You know, it's kids don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Different people have different ways of going about it. I've been fortunate to be a national speaker on how to communicate with kids. And I once led a seminar and I wrote on the board, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I said, any questions? And I left. And then and I had a panel of some of my former students and campers. And then about 5 minutes later, I just snuck in the back door and came up. I said, it's not complicated, but there's certain things that are so important. Like, how do you want others to know who they are unless you know who you are? What's your level of commitment? Where are you coming from? What are some of the things that you believe in? Are you trying to be right? Or are you trying to do the right thing? And so the wisdom that I gained over all the years really was fantastic.
Well, I've always been a believer that you're never too old to do anything. And I feel that,
That's right, Sonny. God dang
but
it.
I feel
Don't
that,
forget that.
I'm at an older age myself and changing pages, turning chapters in my life. And I think I want to work with young kids. I think I want to help shape minds.
What is young kids?
To me, it is before high school. It's the
Okay.
age where I can be impressionable and help the child learn what their next steps are.
It is a little harder dealing with
That 8
high
to
school
12
age
year old.
boys because they're so hormonally imbalanced, but each to their own challenge. You read the chapter where I talked about taking the 3 worst students camping in the woods.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was amazing story.
Did I know those 3 students?
Yes. Well, you knew 2 of them. You may have known all 3 of them. None of them graduated. But I had teachers telling me, they're going to cause you harm and all this other stuff. And
Wait till they get you alone, Dennis Rosen.
I'll kill them, But it was fantastic. So you just don't give up. You just try to figure out different ways of doing it. People ask me why I do it.
What do you think is the best age where you can get through to a child?
Well, it depends on who the child is, because my son is still my child.
Well, I get it.
It's still a work in progress. So.
But when you can develop that young child into make that transition from a child.
I don't know that
12?
it's an easy age. I think it's a lifestyle that you have to commit yourself to, and it's okay not to always move forward, but it's not okay to lose sight of what your goals are and who you are and what you want to. It's just ongoing. It does. I never found there was an easy age. Camp was a very interesting thing because you have some kids that are so homesick. I used to have 2 or 3 boys during the summer that would just come in my office and they had a calendar and we'd scratch off another day, and then they would go and they'd do cleanup and then they'd come back, and it was an evolution. So things are evolutionary more than discovery. It's living it, experiencing it, maybe falling off of the horse a little bit, getting back on. I think one of the things that you always need to do is to work on positive self-imagery, give someone good feelings about themselves. Yeah, but I just did it in a different way.
Well, I read your book and I look at, and of course you were able to take the time to really define who you were and what was important to you. But I don't know that I have as many strong beliefs as I read in your book. I know I do, but I guess I haven't put it down on paper to identify myself.
Why do they have to be strong? Why can't they be developing? And don't look at strong beliefs. Look at beliefs that you have an opportunity to develop, and you'll sort through them. And some will get nurtured, and some will be absorbed by others, and some will pass by. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of being a wise man. You are a wise man in your own way, Tony. I mean, you're still a little kid to me, but you'll always be that way. But it's okay to figure it out as you go along. But you got to know who you are to a certain extent. Who is Tony DeGuida? Like I believe I know who I am, but that is subject to change because I'm evolving. I'm 80 years old and I'm evolving all the time.
But who you are, is that who you are in your own self-minded perception, or who you are as a being, as an inner self?
There's two things that you talk about in terms of the psychology of who a person is: the deference and the demeanor. One is how you take yourself to be, and the other is how others take you to be. And I've chosen to have others take me as one thing, which may not be the way I take myself. What I want to be. I'm not interested in being a kid's friend. I'm interested in being a motivator, a mentor, someone that they trust. I've also had, maybe we can call it just the macho mentality of trying to be the type of guy you'd like next to you in the bunker of life. So if I say something, I like to think it through, because I don't want to say something and not do it. But if I do say something and it's wrong, then you face up to it and say, Tone, I thought this was going to be the best course of action, but I was wrong. So let's work together to change it. Don't lock yourself into any boxes, Tone. There are no boxes.
I agree. Well, Dr. Milou has a coaching strategy in this Vino and Vision program that we're a part of here in this conversation. But what it is it's starting with the end in mind. And when you talk about starting with the end in mind, and one of his initial programs is to, as you're trying to discover who you are, to write your own eulogy. And what would others be saying at your funeral?
It's real interesting because I've never approached it that way. Actually, I've approached it just sort of the opposite way, especially when I deal with older people. I've had some people that I've worked with that were friends that had Alzheimer's, and I was the only person that would never give up on them. I would pick them up once a week. We'd go out to eat. Some of them had trouble figuring out how to sit down again. But if I ordered a plate of pancakes, they wouldn't eat them. But if I ordered dollar-sized pancakes, they'd eat everything on the plate. And so it taught me, how things are perceived. And so it's and the thing though is that people would say, oh, you're unbelievable to do it. They help me more than I help them. And that's the gift of giving. And you're good at that, Tony. You give good gifts. I mean, your mom loves you, but how smart could she be? She loves me too.
Hey, if your mom doesn't love you, you're doing something wrong. At least.
Well, we could talk about Chucky. No.
Well, I see these people in the news who do these horrifying things,
Yep.
And they're in jail. And I'm like, I wonder if their mother still loves them, because of what they do.
You're not the first question that asks that. Actually, one of the extremist groups' mottos is that my mother will still love me. Only it's not stated that way. It's stated more in a
vulgar way.
No. But that's part of their mother. Well, my mother still love me if I do this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
very well. Tony, do you have Dennis's book to show us?
Yes. So Dennis's book is here. It's a very great likeness of him.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I
very
don't know
nice picture.
why did you select the Statue of Liberty?
Well, I'm not. I'm actually Julius Rosinius Caesarius. I invented. Hey, Tony, were you on the team when we marched in like Caesar and stuff? Were you on that
I was
team?
not. I was not.
I invented a new activity. It was a couple of days where the whole camp was divided into two armies, the Trojans and the Spartans. It wasn't historically, and of course I was Julius Rosinius Caesarius, and I had the generals. They would carry me on like a torch, and I had people feeding me grapes. And so I designed this outfit. It's actually an old gold curtain, and look
And
on
you
the
still
top
have
of
the
my head.
outfit.
Look on the top of my head. There's a little trophy piece. You
I see
it?
that.
Why
And
don't you show the book one more
the
time and show the title?
Statue of Liberty, the
that-
printer who's up in Eagle River and a really good guy said, "How did I Photoshop my face?"
Tony. Yeah, there you go. Confuse and conquer. So Dennis, I'm picking up a lot of good things, a lot of nuggets of gold from the conversation we are having with you. And I'm writing this down because these are fabulous things, and I'm pretty sure they're in your book. And you mentioned life, and you said bunker of life, and at the same time you mentioned wise men learn and use what he learns. That's the next step, that not only learning, also using what you learn moves you forward. Fantastic way of saying that. You said gift of giving. And I know Tony is aware of that. I always talk about giving without the expectation of return. That is true giving when you give. And this is what you are saying, gift of giving. And it's a fabulous thing. You mentioned that you got many, many more back. You got many, many more back. But
I'm looking at the clock and it's like a couple minutes to 9 and we could do this all day.
yes.
Well, we can do this again.
Would you like
certainly.
it, Tony?
You know,
Would you like another copy of the book to give?
That would be great. That would be, or, so I don't know that this is available in bookstores or.
No, it's not. The book was written as a gift.
Can people buy them from you?
No,
No,
they can only be given from me.
you're
It's not-
giving again.
So I hope I'm in the list of getting the gift.
Would you like to read it?
Yes, I definitely do, because all
Okay.
the things you are saying here, and I'm looking at this and I'm seeing trying to be right or doing the right thing that you mentioned about doing.
Oh my God, that's been like an unbelievable revelation to me.
Yes, and you know what? I like to have you back again. The reason I like to have you back again, because you have so much to share that we were not able to share today all together, because
I know, I feel sad. We're just getting started.
yeah, we are just,
Well, we do this every 2 weeks.
yeah.
So we can have you back
Well,
again
you
in 2
figure it
weeks.
out, Tone. All you
Okay,
have to do is give me a call, pal.
I
Yes,
will do that.
and I like,
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a
Yes.
joy.
and it's been a joy, and things that you have said is from a life experience, what you mentioned about few of the things, and it's like the positive self-image that you also mentioned about, and we have a positivity is one of the modules that we have, and you talked about how to give gift without the expectation of return, and learning how to be the gift of giving.
So that's just, he has a dozen mantras that he follows,
Uh-huh.
that each of them have such meaning. I'm like, did you create this or did you pick this up somewhere along the way?
Well, I sort of pick up little tidbits. Like there's a famous basketball coach at Duke by the name of Mike Krzyzewski. And he said, show me a person with a lot of rules and I'll show you a person that doesn't want to make a decision, that they'll refer to the rules. So I am not a big rules person, but I am a
I
big,
love that.
yeah. Have I told you that before?
Well, it's one of your, have as few rules as possible. For those rules you have, be consistent or change the rule.
Do you know how much trouble I've gotten into because of that?
I think that's a great rule.
Yeah, I know. I don't, that's confuse and conquer. I want to be able to make a decision. I don't want to be locked into having to make a decision. I want to be able to listen to what you have to say and figure it out. But, you know, when I was dean of students, you knew something was going to happen, but it wasn't consistent.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
I like to read the book. I like to, Tony, I'll be happy if you can share that with me. If it is
Sure.
not available,
How about if I mail another book to Tony? Tony, I'll mail it first class to you, and then so that you could just give it.
Very good.
Dennis, this is what I will tell you. You giving a gift to me, and that's what I always believe, giving without the expectation of return means you get many more back when you have no expectation of return. So that means this gift that you are giving, it's a giving forward, and means what you giving in the book will carry it forward
Oh, yes.
for you, and people will get much more, and that will give us the satisfaction of giving.
Well, you learned a little bit about me, but I didn't learn too much about you.
Yes, yes, and that's what we will want to
That's
come.
by design.
That's by design. We want to learn from you, and we want to have you back. Definitely, Tony, if you can arrange that, just arrange that with.
How
Dennis.
about this? How about we figure it out after you get the book and get to read it?
Fantastic. That will be even better.
Then,
So-
then you'll have a clear understanding of who I am. Because
Yes,
I'm not Mr. Nice Guy.
in
I'll
life,
show him. I'll show him a little bit.
you know, the coaches. This is one thing we always tell, that coaches are there to be coaches. They are not consultant. They are not mentor. They are not therapist. They are coaches. And when the coaches coach, that's sometimes it's not, sometimes it's telling the truth. And not sometimes, all the time telling the truth. And the truth hurts sometimes. And that's why we are not considered as the nice guy. And if we are nice guy, people will not be even hiring us. We have to show them what is right, what is wrong, and how they're doing it.
I'm going to tell Tony a story that he'll relate to you at another time.
Okay, very well. So Tony, our time is over. So
I
Dennis,
know you have things to do
very
today.
much for coming. And don't worry, Tony will give me the book and we'll read the book, and then we will have you back again and we'll discuss a little bit more about the book as well. That will be fantastic to have.
It's just such a neat place to start because it's condensed, you know. It's
Yes,
an easy read.
It's a quick read. Yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah.
I will, when we hang up, I'll give you a call back, Denny.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you for making time for us today.
Bring it to home, Tony.
Who do I send my bill to?
That would be to me. And I
Bye.
will be giving it to Milou.
Okay, we're finished. Leave.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining us with Coffee and the Coach. And we will see you in 2 weeks. We meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month. So
That's
we
not
will
my
be
problem.
meeting
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Enjoy.
February 2nd. See you then. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too.